Hey, what's going on, guys? Money Making Joey back here doing another video. This is not going to be a long one. I wanted to make this video, and I actually have to go back on my channel and see if I might have made a video about this previously, like last year or something like that, because it's quite interesting because doing Uber and Lyft, my style of driving has actually changed a lot. I used to be a big fan of driving long trips. I worked the airport specifically, and only the airport, well over a year driving for Uber and Lyft. And it's crazy because fast forward to right now, 2024, I dread even pulling into the airport because it's in my all honest belief that airport trips and long trips typically are not worth it. Like it used to be years ago, it used to be my dream. It would make my day if a 45-minute plus trip popped up on Uber. Nowadays, I will click that X with the quickness and get that trip out of here and just, go ahead and take something else. Now, the reason for this is, and if you guys have been subscribed to the channel for some time, you guys know the current car that I am using for rideshare, I've actually had the last 2.5 years, I've put well over 70,000 miles on this vehicle. Now, when I first bought this vehicle, a lot of those airport runs that I told you guys that I used to do was done inside of this vehicle, contributing to, just about 40,000 miles on that vehicle over the last year. Now, the question remains, is it worth it to take long trips, and is it worth it to work the airport? The reason why I lumped the airport into this as well, because 9 times out of 10, if you're working your local airport, it's gonna be a long trip. We're talking about 30 minutes plus 45 minutes plus. Like me working Newark Airport here in North Jersey years ago, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like when things got rolling after the pandemic, there would be times where I'd pull into the airport, and on these days, I would typically only average maybe 3 or 4 trips tops per day, just due to the fact that I pull into the airport. And like I said, I'm in Newark, New Jersey, North Jersey, at the airport here, and someone wants to go out of North Jersey into Long Island, which is an hour and 45-minute drive. It's a nice paying trip, but then now essentially what happens is, now after I'm done with that trip, I have the option of possibly taking a couple trips in that location. And it really all depends, because you really have to be careful with leaving the state, because sometimes when you leave the state and you get there, you find out that you can't even drive in that state. Like I'll give you guys an example. New York, and I gave that example of Long Island. I couldn't drive in Long Island. I'm in New Jersey. For New York, in order to drive there, you must have New York registration. So if you come out of Jersey with Jersey registration, you could forget about it. Pennsylvania, another state right next to us, they require that you have a inspection done from the state of Pennsylvania in order to be able to drive there. So when you think about it, you pull out from Jersey to New York, you pull out from Jersey to Pennsylvania. Once you drop that customer off from the airport, you no longer have the ability to take trips. So then now you have 2 options. You can come back into Jersey and immediately start taking trips, or you have the option to go back to the airport. A lot of times, I used to go back to the airport. So just imagine you take a trip that is 50 miles out. You drop that customer off, you drive 50 miles back. Whatever you made for that 50-mile trip, you now have to realize and calculate it for a 100-mile trip. So you're doing a lot of wear and tear on whatever vehicle that you're actually driving. And I'm going to give you guys a great example. And actually, before I get to that example, I'm going to give you the reason why I first initially started driving the airport and the airport only. I wasn't really a fan of having 20 different rides, probably 40 different people inside of my vehicle. So it was way easier for me at the time to only go to the airport, do 3-4 trips, make $300-400, and just go ahead and call it a day. But then now, when you really get into the swing of things, when you really get inside of the business, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it for me really to do what's best for me, or is it best for me to do what's right for my vehicle, my earnings, and everything like that? And I personally feel like when you really crunch the numbers, going to the airport, doing those long trips, putting those extra miles on your vehicle is not worth it. Now, getting back to the example that I was going to give you guys, there was a time, and I believe this was sometime last year, I wasn't messing with the airport really any. But it just so happened that I had a trip that went into the airport. Sometimes if I get a trip inside of the airport, I'll just suck it up and pick somebody up while I'm there. This was exactly that case, but Uber likes to play shady tactics because we don't have upfront pay here in New Jersey where I'm at. So therefore, I can't see where you're going. The only thing that I can see is it's potentially a 45-minute trip. Except when you're inside of the airport. Uber likes to play this dirty game where you pull into the airport, they'll send you a ping. It's a very long trip, but they don't tell you the 45-minute warning. So they're essentially just trying to trick you into taking that trip. And that actually happened to me this time around after I dropped someone off at the airport. Once I get them dropped off, I immediately get a ping. I swing around to the other terminal to pick this guy up. It didn't have a 45-minute plus warning, and the only thing that it did tell me was that it was a comfort ride. So when I pull up, I guess this guy must have went through 5 to 10 drivers already, because he immediately says to me, hey, would you take me to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania? And in my mind, I never think I took a trip there before, and I didn't really know where it was. I know I've never been there, so I kind of questioned him on it, and I'm putting it in my GPS, and this is like in Pennsylvania on the borderline of Maryland. It was a 2.5-hour drive, and it was 180 miles out. I had actually did the calculations because, long story short, I didn't take the trip. It was like 6 p.m. on a Saturday night, and I told this guy, it's going to take me about 2 hours and 45 minutes to get there. I would have dropped him off and had to take a 180-mile drive back for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I would have got back home at midnight. I didn't take the trip. I canceled it out, told him good luck. I drove out of the airport and I pulled over to take a break. And while I was on this break, I actually crunched the numbers. The per mile, per minute rate, hail rate for that comfort trip. This trip would have actually paid me out, I believe like a little bit under $200. It would have been like 190 something. I forget the exact amount. So I finished up my break and I said, hey, you know what? That trip, if I took them there and came back, would have been like a little over 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit the road for an additional 4 hours and actually see how much I make, because like I said previously, it was a Saturday night. I went back out on the road, did 4 more hours. In those 4 hours on the road, taking local trips, nothing long over 45 minutes, really nothing long over 30 minutes for the most part, I was able to do $125 inside of those 4 hours, and I was back home. And if I had took him, yeah, I would have made more, well, I would have made more money, technically, 125, 175. But one thing that you have to consider, I got home earlier than if I would have took that trip. I'd have been still driving back 4 hours later. And on top of that, I think I actually might have put an additional 75, maybe 80 miles on my vehicle as opposed to putting 180 there, 180 back. That's like 320, over 300 miles. Plus, it would have actually cost me over a tank of gas. About a tank of gas. So it was better for me to actually just stay local and make that $125. So I give you guys that example because, and it's an important one. If you have to go back and make sure you guys fully got that one, it's cool. Because that's a very important thing, because I'll pose you guys a question. Would you rather take $200 in 5 hours, burn a tank of gas, and put 325 miles on your car? Or would you take $140 in 5 hours, burn a quarter tank of gas, and put 80 miles on your vehicle? Get down below in the comments and you know, let me know what you guys think on that. Once you fully understand that concept and you really think about it, you're gonna question taking those airport trips. Just a little food for thought here, but Money Making Joey, I'm out of here. Give this video a thumbs up if you guys have found value from it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.